Hi, welcome to the Craft Channel. My name's Corinne Brad, and today I want to show you how to make something that will improve the look of your artificial flowers. Now, these have been made with crepe, and as you can see, in the centre of them, we have these stamens. There's some pink ones in there, there's glittery ones in there, and they're normally the kind of thing that you would buy, but I want to show you how you can make your own, so you can have them in any colour, any finish that you like. Now, I've been accused of looking like a mad scientist here with my little crucible on a stand. You can, of course, do this. You can melt your embossing powder in one of those little tin cupcake cases with a heat gun, but I need a few more hands here to be able to demonstrate this properly. So I'm just going to set my crucible, which is made from an old piping nozzle, set in a washer, held over a candle. Looks awful, works really well. And I'm going to melt in there some Wow Embossing Powder. Now, this is a sugared almond. This is a purple glittery one. And you'll find with this method, because you're melting it into a liquid, you don't always get the glitter rising to the surface. But what you want to do is you just want to pour some in your crucible or into your cake case. I'm just going to add a little bit of, this one is a Hydrangea mix. And I've done it in this tiny crucible because I'm trying to live a slightly more sustainable life. And actually, if you have a look at some of our other videos, we've got quite a few ideas there now to help you to be eco-friendly. So if you subscribe to us, you can sort of see whenever we have anything come up, because you'll get a notification. I'm trying to make sure that I don't waste anything. So I'm just going to let that melt over the frame. And to make your stamens, you need to get some floristry wire or just jewellery making wire. Nothing that's too thin, because you need it to be able to hold, you know, you need it to be rigid. And just tip over the ends of a piece that's about 7 or 8 centimetres long. And the reason you tip over the ends with a pair of pliers is to give your embossing powder, something to grip onto. So, let's just do these two. And the method that you use is just simply a dip and cool method. Now, this is just starting to smoke a little bit, so I know that it has melted. I don't want it to burn. What I'm going to do is take one of these, pop it in the mix, give it a stir and lift it out. And you can see it's coated it, but because that's quite hot, it's only coated it thinly. So if you let it cool and pop it in again, and just let it drip, wave it about a bit, you've got a bigger stamen. Don't be tempted to blow on it to cool it down or shake it to cool it down, because while you've got that liquid plastic on there, or the liquid embossing powder on there, it will flick off on your curtains and things like that. Once it is cool, you can dip it in again very quickly, let it drip off, and then take it away from the heat source and just let it cool in the air. So obviously with that method, you can either make quite small, delicate ones. I'm just waiting for that to drip off there, come on. Oh, it's half on, half off, hang on. There you go. I don't know if you can see that on the close-up camera. I'm probably holding it totally the wrong place. You can vary the size of your stamen depending on how many times and how quickly you dip it in your embossing powder. If you find that it's starting to drip a bit too much, it means your embossing powder is too molten. Just take it away from the flame or take the heat source away from it for a couple of seconds, and it will start to harden up a little bit. So that you can, what you want to do is you want a nice rounded end to it. Now, as you can see from these stamens, they're quite opaque. Even though, oh, that one's not quite cooled down enough yet, hold on. Even though I've put a glitter embossing powder in there, it has come out mainly opaque because the glitter is not sitting on the top surface of it, it's included within all of the plastic. So I found the easiest way to get a glitter effect on your stamens is to get rid of your mad scientist equipment and blow your candle out before you set fire to the studio and you get shouted at. And I will be using a heat gun again now. Now this is going to be quite noisy. I will turn it on and off regularly. But what I want to do is I want to achieve a stamen like this. So they are pink, but then they've got a purple glitter effect on the top of them. Now, it's taken me quite a lot of trial and error to do this, because what I assumed I could do is dip my molten stamens into my embossing powder, and it would coat them. Turns out it doesn't work like that. It does, but what it does is as you're dipping it into the embossing powder, it actually misshapes the powder that you've already got on there. So, the easiest way I've found to do this, let's do it with this one. Give your embossing powder a shake so that it's not clumped up in there. This Wow Embossing Powder is called Montserrat, so it's green and it's got glitter and it's got white flakes in it as well. Don't put your embossing powder in front of the nozzle of your air gun because it will blow it everywhere. But take a pre-cooled, pre-dipped stamen, turn your heat gun on, and I'm just going to explain what I'm going to do. I'm just going to gently heat the outside of that to soften the embossing powder on the outside, and then I'm going to lay it in the embossing powder to coat it, and then put it back again to melt this embossing powder. But I don't know how loud this is going to come out, so just watch and you'll see what I mean. So just gently heat it without melting it again. Lay it in your embossing powder. Now I melted that a bit too much because as I've put it in the embossing powder, the actual powder itself has distorted that stamen. So it's quite an odd shape, but there is a way around this. Just keep turning it. You know, like you see glass blowers turning molten glass on the end of a stick to make sure it doesn't drip. The same can be applied with your embossing powder. And this is not an exact science. It's one of those things, the first 3 or 4 that you do are going to look absolutely awful. But once you've done 3 or 4 and you've found out the optimum distance from your heat gun, how deep you want to dip it in your embossing powder, how quickly you want to turn it, then you can start to produce fairly standard stamens. And if you find that you've got too much embossing powder on there and you're, you know, doing this to try, you're better off actually just letting it drop off and pop it back in your crucible to melt it for your next lot. So there you go. Now you want about 5 or 6 double-ended stamens for each flower. And as I say, you can see on this one, these have got pink glittery stamens in the centre. These are just the white, the pink opaque ones. There's a greeny silver glitter in the centre of this one, and there's gold glitter in the middle of them. So it just provides a nice focal point for your artificial flowers. So if you come back to us in a minute, I'll show you how you use these stamens to make a simple artificial flower. Catch you in a minute. Click here to see the next part of the video. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.